Nirmal Kaur as well into this. Ms. Kaur, if you could tell us, now when you look at a situation like this, I'm asking you just on the technicalities of it. The person here, there is no case registered against him. He leaves on the 27th. The case is registered on the 28th. An SIT is formed. And now you have this blame game as whether the state allowed him to flee, whether the center allowed him to flee. How do you really pursue an individual without a case being registered?
Even there was nothing, really, there was nothing
and
at that time.
And also, if you could really make this stand clear as to who is to blame here.
No, I think 27th when there's nothing. If the state government is so smart and they could have preempted it. If they knew that all this is there and this is going to happen, they could have very quickly registered the FIR and preempted his leaving the country. If that is the thing. See, there are two aspects. One is the political aspect of the case. The other is the criminal aspect of the case. I can speak on the criminal aspect of the case. I mean, these allegations are very serious. And very rightly, the government has formed an SIT. And it is, and one thing one can clearly see is that there's an asymmetry in power. The person making the allegation is a domestic servant, even though she's related to the family in some far off way. But she's a domestic servant employed by the perpetrator, by the person who's charged with the crime. So, that aspect, I'm sure the SIT will keep in mind while taking statements, recording the case, and give, all due encouragement to the victim to come out and tell her story. And also, when you employ someone, when somebody is a domestic in your house, you are kind of in a fiduciary position to look after that person. And instead, if this kind of exploitation kind of a thing, comes, the allegation which has come, and 2,800 clips. Who was videographing? And how come 2,800 clips came? All this is, very, it was going on for years and years and no one came out. And if there are 2,800 women, how come not a single woman, not one of them spoke out against it? Even if there are a few women, it should have come out by now. It did not come out. And 28th it comes out. And the legal position is that writing a letter is a political gambit. But demanding, under the Passport Act, whatever the procedure is, with due process, making demands, fulfilling the due process, legally sound demands, I think that is what should be done if they want his passport cancelled or whatever. All this is just, halabunu, so that they get
is this a case?
Some kind of public attention
for his diplomatic passport to be cancelled? Is it a fit case, Mrs. Kaur?
See, the diplomatic passport, perhaps he has as a member of parliament. So whatever that will depend a lot on what are the prima facie findings of the SIT. What does the SIT say? The allegation has come. There are some video clips which are not in public domain. No one knows whether they are morphed, they are genuine, what they are. But one thing one can clearly see is the asymmetry of power. The person making the allegation and the person charged with having committed that crime, they stand on very different footings. So I'm sure, the SIT has to give due protection to the woman to come out and speak and adduce all the evidence she has and speak about whatever allegations she's making and to give all the evidence, dates, or whatever is required in the police investigation.
Yeah.
And a thorough police investigation should be done, keeping this political side and the hype that is surrounding the case aside. Because courts are going to only see the evidence. They're not going to see this political hype in the media or wherever it is. Courts are going to prosecute or give a hearing for the bail or whatever on the basis of the evidence which the police brings before them. So evidence has to be gathered, properly collected, keeping in mind the situation of the things and the
before I have to take a break, but before that, I'll also bring in Brinda Adige as well. She's been patiently listening to the political opinions and also your expert, view on how the investigation should proceed. Brinda, while we're talking about all of this, here there are dozens, or if you go by some of the talks, there are hundreds of women. The SIT on one hand, it's doing its job, but a message that has been put out on Twitter, or rather, social media handle X, where Mr. Prajwal Revanna says he needs 7 more days to appear and that the truth will prevail. What do you make of a response like this coming to the fore?
It's just an eyewash response, politically trying to keep himself safe. There's no reason for him to ask 7 days, except that the elections are on and they hope that they might win something. And we know over here that if he can flee within 4 or 5 hours, he can also come back in 5, 6 hours. And what he has done just now, asking for 7 days, is simply an eyewash, putting all the victims more in trouble. And of course, having the advantages of a diplomatic passport, where he is enjoying wherever he is. And the court allowing that 7 days is what we must also question. What is the need for 7 days? It is not that we do not have transportation that can bring him back here in about 10 hours. The court must also apply its mind. Just because there is somebody asking for 7 days.
It's May 1st. And in 7 days from now, the second part of elections in Karnataka, the third phase, 14 constituencies will be voting. That's probably why 7 days is needed.
Yes, that's exactly why he has asked for those 7 days.
Well, we'll continue this debate.